So this was Hugh's first dressage comp and his third outing since racing. I'm so proud of this kid. We did have a few issues though in the warm-up, but I'll touch on that in another video, which hopefully will be coming up soon. Today I just wanted to do a sort of run through and hopefully update people on his training and in effect shed some light on his possible future career as either an event or dressage horse. So we did end up finding a nice quiet spot for a warm-up. I'm just trying to keep him focused just to relax him, so lots of flexion changes, direction changes, and trying to get him to move forward, both in the trot and canter, and then come back, both in the trot and canter. And he did really, really well once he was calm and relaxed and focused. So our first test was the Prelim 1.1. So as you can see, we weren't as straight and his quarters come into the halt and it's just not square and it's just a bit of a mess. But we powered on through. Coming down the centre line, probably not as straight, and here you can see he's looking at the car, his ears are pricked and he's sort of losing focus a little bit and sort of hollows through the back and neck. But once I can actually put my leg on, take a deep breath out and go forward, he comes straight and he comes round just like we are going at home. One thing I will say though, you can see he's not really tracking up as well as I would have liked. But you know, this was his third outing and his first dressage test, so I'm absolutely stoked by the way he handled everything. In terms of circles, I sort of let him down there with a funny shaped circle. But he was really listening and really focused. We had a little bit of a problem, you'll probably see at A, little bit of a scary bit there, which he looks at almost every single time we go past, but you know what, that's okay. So this was our canter transition. I was really happy with the transition. I did let him down though in that it was very early on, and then he had a look at A. But he comes back straight back to me really quickly, which I'm so pleased with, and he's focused. His quarters are a little bit in and he's probably overflexed. And you can see he's sort of quite heavy in my hand and sort of bearing down. So that's a sure tell sign of he needs to go more forward, but you know, in retrospect, I would much rather have a horse be very heavy in my hands on his first outing than very light and you know, almost running away from my hand, where he really was looking for that support. The downward transition was fine. This was our non-existent stretchy circle. I think he was more than happy to stretch, but I think I was very, very tense and I would much rather, you know, sort of hold on. So you can see there I sort of dumped him into that downward transition into the walk. Absolutely no power whatsoever. Like, it's going to take half an hour to get across the diagonal. So yeah, so that medium walk was just not great. Free walk, he's quite twisted. He's stretching down and he is poking with his nose. I would like him to sort of relax a little bit more and stretch out a little bit more, but the walk is a really hard gait for us. And with everything going on around him, it baffles me that he didn't just say, you know, bye, I'm going home now, like when he had the chance. I'm really, really, really proud of him. So collecting up the reins and getting back into our medium walk, I'm getting a bit tense, he gets a bit tense, sort of pops into a little bit of a jog. You can see me sort of fiddling there, and I sort of drop the outside rein, which is a very bad habit, and he's just sort of goes, oh, like, where are you? So he's constantly looking for me in the outside rein, which is a great habit to have. It's my bad habit that I sometimes just drop him. So the trot here is a bit better in that he's moving a little bit more forward. We're a bit overflexed, and it's sort of falling apart really, isn't it? It's sort of, the energy is just sort of falling a little bit, and I think that that's my problem, in that I was trying to contain everything and he's listened so well, it gets very hard to sort of focus and refocus yourself in terms of how much of the energy that you're actually holding back from him. So this canter transition, picked up the wrong lead, knew that was going to happen. I was tense into the transition, very unbalanced, but he came straight back and popped into canter brilliantly the second time, so very, very, very pleased with that. This canter was better than the first, in that he is moving more so than the first canter transition, the first canter on the left rein. The downward transition wasn't as good. That's because I sort of just popped my leg off him and just dropped him into the transition. Overshot the center line a little bit, and we're a little bit of like a wiggly worm coming down into the halt, but his first dressage test ever, I just could not be prouder. So this was our warm-up for the second test. It was better in that he still remained somewhat chilled out, even with another horse in the arena with us. So very, very, very pleased with that. He's moving more, he's got more bounce in his canter, and I'm actually sort of breathing out and riding the horse, which, you know, oftentimes it actually works when you decide that you're actually going to ride the horse. It's quite handy. The downward transition though was really crap because I was really, really happy with his canter, and I just sort of forgot about everything else and was like, yeah, like, that's so good, I'm so proud of you, like, blah, 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 and just didn't ride it until the very end, but that's okay. So the second test was the Prelim 1.3. We didn't score as well in this test as we did in the first, but I felt that this test rode a lot better. I really let him down in this test though, which you will see, but he did super well, so very proud of him in this test. So the trot, you can see he's not tracking up that well, but it was much better than the first. So the halt, I mean, that's me. This horse can halt, and he can halt square. Downward transitions for me I just find it very hard to coordinate. So again, he's having a bit of a look at the car, but that's okay. He sort of gets over it fairly quickly and comes back and is asking me, okay, what's next? I've sort of got a bit of a dodgy flexion coming into the start of the loop, but his trot is much, much, much better, and we sort of regain the correct flexion towards the end of the loop. The next canter transition was a bit late on my part because I could feel him sort of rushing into the wrong lead, and I could feel him losing the balance. So it was a little bit late, but the actual quality of the canter is quite good, you know. I could have asked for a little bit more, but he was listening, he was holding himself. His quarters sort of fall in a little bit, and that's a problem that I have with my right leg. So in this case, my outside leg is swinging back a little bit, and it sort of confuses him, rightly so. This downward transition, I was really disappointed because I just dropped him into it, and he was doing so much like better work at home. But you know what? I've seen a lot worse. So coming back into the walk, I mean, you can see that there's just no energy whatsoever in that downward transition, which then in turn leads into this really sort of crappy medium walk. When there's no energy, he comes up above the bit and is sort of allowed to have a look around and lose focus. So, you know, that's when he transitions up into that sort of weird sort of jog, because I'm there with my leg on trying to regain this energy and regain his composure and sort of strengthen along his back. But you know, there's nothing, and I was riding a little bit too much in my hand in the downward transition. So I mean, you can see the effects from a crappy transition. It's I found it quite hard to get back in the free walk. So yeah, you can see he's having a bit of a look, not really focused, not really paying attention, having like a minor freak out a little bit. So the upward transition, so there was almost no trot there, but we get it back into this when we go into the loop. So this trot here, really, really happy. You know, he does come up from the shoulder and his nose pokes out a little bit, but you know what, that's fine. I'm really happy with the quality of that trot. The canter transition was a bit weird. He sort of changed like half and half. It was very weird to sit to. I don't know if that's just me, but I don't know what went up there. I think he popped into canter and then realized that he was cantering, you know what I mean? Like, it was a bit unco, but that's fine. yeah, my circles are just the weirdest shapes. But this canter was really, really good. I was really happy with the jump. I would like him to come a little bit more up in front, because you can see when he bears down into my hand, we sort of lose the impulsion into the downward transition and sort of fall, and then he comes back up and hollows through the back. Oh, this is our non-existent stretchy trot again. Yeah, I need to work on that, because it was better than the first test, but that's not a stretchy trot, you know. That's just not what it is at all. Yeah, absolutely no transition there. It's I just let him go and was like, oh, there you go, here, have a circle. So coming down the centre line, the impulsion wasn't quite there, and you can see that when we sort of drop into our halt. Not square at all, and we sort of just both fell into it, but I was very proud of him.